And so here today we are gathered to Wansee Entertainment, and I want to make Wansee Entertainment because I want to make the video anyway because I'm really I'll play it, so I just want to make a react video because I don't want to do live streams because live streams going to take me a long time to make, and they got a new feature to it, so in we go for Wansee Entertainment. So this video we're gonna be this one we react to is True Company Horror Story. I don't know what True Horror Story is, but let's watch it anyway. Wow, there. True Company Horror Story.
This happened 2 years ago. I was fairly new to the world of work, and I had just started working for the company. Back then at work, I was working late nights and early mornings. In fact, all of us really were. Our company had a kind of rotation for this, and we had to do one late shift followed by one morning shift every week. I remember leaving the late shift after 11 p.m. on the night in question. I walked through the dimly lit parking lot back to my car, got in, and started checking my messages on my smartphone.
True.
Then, suddenly, a thought came to me. I wasn't sure if I had locked up upon leaving work.
True.
As I was the last one out due to the night shift, this was my responsibility. It couldn't be helped. I summoned up the energy to head back there and check. I got out of my car and headed back to work, checked, and then headed back to my car. Thankfully, it was locked, and I must have been gone for all of about 40 seconds max. I got in and started my engine, and felt a clammy hand cover my mouth. Then I felt a man's hot breath against my ear say, "If you keep your mouth shut, you don't die." I couldn't speak. I was terrified into silence. I just remember waves of panic crashing over me. My head was completely blank. I looked in the rearview mirror and nodded my head. I recognized the man behind me. He worked in the same company as me, but in a completely different department.
Okay.
I was surprised, and against his orders, I asked aloud, "Howard, why?" No, the words just came out of me. I had never really spoken with him before. He was just kind of a quiet guy, but I knew him. And he replied, "I've been interested in you since you started working here.
Oh.
If you don't say you're going to be mine, I'll kill you right here." Fearful for my life, I could do little else than nod in agreeance. He then pulled down the lever of my seat so my seat went flat and began attempting to drag me into the back seats towards him. I screamed for him to stop. "You said you don't like me," he mumbled. He was trying to pull my clothes off. I thrashed at him, and I think somehow in the scuffle, he hit something against the open passenger door, and this gave me enough time to get free. I ran back to the company building since I had the key. I got in there, and I locked myself in. I called a male colleague who left shortly after me and told him what had just happened. I know I should have called the police, but I was in such a panic. Fortunately for me, my colleague was still in the area, and he turned around immediately and headed back to work. With him around, I felt that I was safe to unlock the door. We went to the parking lot and searched for Howard, but couldn't find him anywhere. It was at this point that I filed a police report. I was absent from work for a while, and I decided to use my vacation time. I didn't want to go back there and have to talk to the gossipers. And while I was away, Howard was arrested.
Wow, nice.
With this in mind, I was happy to go back to work as long as he wasn't there. I thought it was safe. When I came back to work, I was told that women were no longer going to be working the night shift alone, and the company offered to help me relocate if I wasn't comfortable working there any longer.
Okay.
My parents wanted me to do this, but I didn't. I actually liked the job. I didn't want to let that creep make me quit my job. I wanted him to know that I wasn't scared. Plus, with him arrested, I didn't think that I had anything to worry about. My company informed me on my first day back that he had been dismissed, and that was really good to hear. The police were in touch, and they advised me to keep my doors locked and the usual safety precautions.
Okay.
They said that a momentary lapse in concentration almost cost me my life, and they told me to ruminate on that for a while.
Surely. Yeah, because every creep would do this to you. Every creep would do it. Every creep would do it because every creep would do anything to scare you. I know every creek does this kind of stuff. I know every creek does this. Every creek do this a lot. So let's watch True Cult Horror Story.
I still remember the face of my friend dying in front of my eyes. Would that look be a resentment against me, an anger, or a sadness? I do not know the answer.
It just started right
I will
up.
never know forever. Sometimes the memory of that day portrays like a movie scene in my head, regardless of my will, and it feels like it is getting clearer as days go by. My psychiatrist told me that this is because of the shock, and he said he would conduct a hypnotherapy to erase my memory. In my unconscious, I imagine going back to that day to save my friend. However, despite repeating hundreds of times, I could not save him. It happened 8 years ago. This is a story of Ewan, a friend of mine who fell into a cult.
Okay.
He had believed in religion for a long time.
Wow.
But there was something off about it.
What?
Rumors say that people worship a very large snake as a god. I told him to not lie, but Ewan's face looked serious. He said everything went well after believing in that religion. One day, I couldn't resist his incessant invitation, so I followed him once. He was my best friend for 10 years, so I couldn't reject. What was the name of the religion? I couldn't remember, but one thing I do remember is that the name was not in modern language. I was shocked as soon as I entered the religion auditorium. Everyone was wearing a snake-faced mask, with their tongues sticking out. Their tongues were all split in the middle like a snake. But that day happened to be the day of an important ritual, which was the day of worship to the snake god. The cult leader came into the auditorium, and the believers frantically made the sound of snakes. I was shocked and got horrified to see Ewan was also hissing like crazy. A moment went by, and the believers gave something to the leader. Someone gave a snake-shaped gold. Someone else gave huge bundles of money, and someone even brought a deer that they had caught themselves. When it was Ewan's turn, I was confused because his hands were empty. However, when the leader stood in front of him, Ewan pushed me towards the leader. Full of shock and anger, I asked him what on earth he was doing. The leader, with an excited look, said to me, "Oh, such a precious gift. Do you also agree with being offered as a sacrifice to the snake god?" I cried out, "Never." Ewan started to persuade me. "You will get a huge reward if you give a part of your body to the snake god. Let's cut a little bit off of your thigh." I did it too. Ewan showed me his thigh, and his thighs were indeed cut. I shouted out, "Never." The leader suddenly became cold and stared at Ewan. He said quietly, "Then, Mr. Ewan does not have a sacrifice to offer today." Ewan's face became cold, and he started to tremble. He knelt down and begged me for permission. I did not want to do it, so I flatly refused. Then the leader shouted, "The snake god commands you to be punished." Then he dragged Ewan to take him somewhere. I followed him, yelling to let him go, but I couldn't help him because the believers stopped me. Ewan screamed and grappled, yet they did not let him go. They took him somewhere far away and reached a huge cage. And inside the cage, there was a large snake coiled up that seemed to be more than 5 meters long.
Damn.
Ewan screamed, but the believers threw Ewan into the cage.
Wow.
In shock, I asked what they were doing, to which the leader replied, "The snake god will decide whether to punish him or to forgive him.
Oh, okay.
We shall see his will."
Oh.
Soon after, the huge snake started to wind around Ewan's body.
Wow.
He screamed for help, and his eyes met mine. He looked at me and opened his mouth as if he was trying to tell me, but he couldn't speak.
Oh, wow.
The snake was around his body completely.
Ooh.
I could hear a sound like crackling bones.
Oh, he got hit.
I cried out and screamed, but I was kicked out by the believers.
Wow.
In such shock and horror, I called the police. The police arrived, but they were stopped by the leader and his believers. It took a while for the police to arrest them. When the police tried to find Iwan, he was nowhere to be found.
He's dead.
However, the body of the snake was quite swollen. After the investigation, the police confirmed that Iwan was eaten by the snake. The leader and his believers were put in jail. It turned out that the leader actually fed not only Iwan, but also numerous people to the snake. I still cannot forget the eyes of dying Iwan, and I still have nightmares. In my nightmare, it is not Iwan, but me being winded up to death by the snake.
Oh.
And the feeling is so vivid, as if it were real. Even today, my bed was soaked with my sweat, and the disgusting smell I felt in my dreams remained in my nose.
Wow.
When will this nightmare be over?
Yeah, will that nightmare be over? I think not. Nope, I think that nightmare won't be gone. Because that nightmare was still stuck with you, so that will still be with you. That thing won't be with you, it's still gonna be with you. So let's watch like one more last one. Let's watch a true Halloween horror story.
I have a surprise for you.
I have a surprise for you.
What? Let's say it at the same time.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I booked
a rustic cabin in Vermont.
Free cancellation on most days.
Well, that's good too.
Booking.com, booking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and my friend, who I'll call Fred, decided
Fred.
that for Halloween last year, we would explore an abandoned building.
Okay.
Now, me and Fred are teenagers. I'm 15 and Fred is 16,
Okay.
which might seem weird, but now we're
That's
older.
true.
We knew we were too old to go trick-or-treating.
Wow.
So our abandoned building idea was the best we could come up with.
That's true.
So we decided to do it that night and go around exploring it.
That's what we mean.
So I packed up a backpack and grabbed a flashlight. When I got outside of my house, I saw Fred was holding a camera, and I asked him what it was for. He told me he wanted to take pictures and put them on Snapchat or Facebook. So, after an eye roll, we both walked off down the street, and I saw little kids in those dumb Halloween costumes holding their candy bags.
Sure.
Suddenly, Fred stopped and said, "We're here." And I looked up at the building and realized it was a house. Actually, it was a two-story house that looked like it had been painted red or some other dark color.
Abandoned.
Fred then smiled and started running so fast, I had to run to keep up with him. When we got to the front door, I pulled out my flashlight from my bag, ready to use it. Fred then grabbed the doorknob, and half of me was hoping the door was locked. But it swung open, making a loud squeaking noise. And then it stopped. We both looked inside and couldn't see anything because it was so freaking dark.
That's true, because they ran.
Fred then walked into the house and smiled. And I just...
Yeah, because every abandoned house always be dark. Because always be dark, because always be dark inside. Because you can't see nothing in dark, so there's private.
Stood there. My brain was doing the, this doesn't sound like a good idea.
Like that.
Fred then turned around and asked if I was a chicken.
Damn.
Which for some reason made me so upset that I walked into the house.
Yeah.
I told Fred he could check upstairs and that I would check downstairs. And he agreed.
That'd be a good plan.
We split up and went our different ways.
That'd be a good plan.
Going up the stairs and me staying down on the first floor. As I walked around, I noticed there was a bunch of old beer bottles and cigarette boxes.
Wow.
Seriously, it smelled horrible in the house.
Wait up, it could be. Oh,
And suddenly,
the door.
I stopped when I saw a door shut. And I noticed that door had a fake bat hanging from it. I then nervously walked over to the door and grabbed the knob, twisting it. When it opened, I peeked into the room and saw a set of stairs. and then I realized this was the basement.
Yeah.
I turned around thinking about running upstairs to where Fred was, but I didn't want him to call me chicken again. So I made sure my flashlight was still on, and then I took the stairs carefully. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, I noticed a light switch, so I flipped it on, and a single light flooded the room. I turned around, my flashlight still on, and I screamed at what I saw. I felt the flashlight fall out of my hand and fall on the ground, probably breaking it, but I didn't care. Right in front of me was a body sitting in a chair, and I could tell it wasn't a fake one.
It's real.
I ran out of the room so fast I nearly tripped on the stairs. Then I ran into the main area. And then I heard heavy footsteps, and Fred came running down the stairs, yelling at me to get out of the house. He then shoved me hard, telling me to move, and we both ran out of the house and then down the street until we got to Fred's house and slammed the door shut. I asked him what happened as he walked into the kitchen, and then he took his hand off his arm.
Oh, he got
a good-sized cut.
Oh, he got hit.
I was shocked, and I asked him what happened. And then he told me. He said he walked into a room upstairs, looking around, and was jumped by a man who was probably hiding somewhere in the room. He managed to stab Fred in the arm before Fred got to me and told me to leave. I sighed softly, and then decided to tell him my part of the story. After hearing it, he said we should call the police, and we did. A few hours later, they called us back, telling us the body in the basement was real, but they couldn't find that guy Fred saw. Then a few days later, I heard a news report on TV about a missing teenage girl. I looked up at the TV and realized that girl looked exactly like the dead body I found in the basement. And as you can guess, Fred and I don't explore abandoned buildings anymore. But we still love doing scary things for Halloween.
Something of that. I was going over that. Jeez, I was listening. That's what I was getting. That was a scary saying story. I ain't even seen a story like this before. That story is not. It's scary. Honestly. I don't know what's going on with my phone right now, because I'm trying to put my phone to be like, it's not really rotating. It should give me the rotate, it should just give me a minute, because I'm trying to find it. Okay. It was set on, so it wasn't set it. So, I'm gonna end it right here because I love Wansee Entertainment, because there's a lot of Wansee Entertainments, because there are gonna be lots of entertainments, but I'm really we're going to do some other reaction and some other stuff, because my sister's going to send me some ones if I can find out if I can do animation, because I will do another animation of this final skit, because it's gonna be another OC mod as well, because I didn't know what to do. So let's join the Hebrew squad. Love ya. Bye bye.